Alrighty, so in this video, we are going to be looking at one new figure object that we can create and how to go about doing that, and then just a little extra detail onto the end of another one. I guess this wasn't included earlier on in the curriculum just because there's a bit more math to how this works. You need to understand angles, and they didn't want to bog you down with all these different shapes that might not have been necessary. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about arcs and then a little extra thing like arrows on lines. What I've set up over here, you can see in the code, I made a circle, a couple lines, and then some labels over here. And then all that I've got is this setup where I have a 0 at the top of this circle with this kind of coordinate grid going through it, this cross going through it. I've got a 90 degrees over to the right. Go another 90 degrees around that circle, I've got a 180. Another 90 degrees, I got 270, and then it brings us back to 0. So we're going to be talking about the arc command. And the arc command, the reason I have this set up is because the arc command is going to create some sort of arcs, and I want this as just like a reference point for us to build upon. So let's start off with just exactly what the arc command takes. It works very similarly to oval. And so an arc, maybe I'll do this in a comment so we can just kind of like see this. An arc takes an x coordinate and a y coordinate, like most figures, that's what it starts with. Then it takes a width and a height, just like your oval, or kind of like your rectangle too. And then finally, here's the new stuff. It takes a start angle, and then it takes what's called a sweep angle. And the way you can think about this is the start angle says, all right, where am I starting? And then the sweep angle is going to say, how far from that starting line am I going to sweep around this center point to make my arc? I think the best thing to do is just to kind of play around with it and test it out. I'll show a couple examples just so we can kind of like see how it works, but I recommend that you play around with it yourself, changing some angles around, start angle, sweep angle, all that good stuff to better understand how arcs work. So we're just going to start playing around with it. I'm going to make an arc at 200, 200. Let's see, the radius of the circle is 60. So I kind of want this to overtake the circle. So maybe I'll make it the width and the height. So if the radius is 60, the diameter is 120. So I'm going to make the width and the height like 130 by 130 to make it a circle. Notice an arc doesn't need to be a circle. It's given oh my goodness, where am I going? It's given a width and a height. So you can have an arc that's kind of ovular or something like that if you don't want it to be a perfect circle. I'm working with a circle right here though. And then let's start with a start angle of, let's just try 0 and 90 and see how that works. Ooh, I'm also gonna, so once you're done with the start angle and sweep angle, then after that you can always put like the other stuff, your fills, your opacities, all that good stuff, your borders. So I'm gonna make a fill of red. Now if I run this, when I run it, well, I had my start angle at 0, my sweep angle at 90, right? X at 200, that's the X. Y at 200, that's the Y. Maybe I want to like, here, maybe I'll have these commas all line up so it's a little easier to see what we're doing. Though now, start angle, maybe I go like start angle, yikes, SA for start angle. Oh, well, whatever. Start angle and sweep angle are these next two. Oh, I know what I can do. I can do start angle and then just hit space a couple times, and then I get to sweep angle over there, and then the other stuff is over here. I definitely wouldn't write it like this normally, but just to keep it, easier for us to see. All right, so my start angle was 0, my sweep angle was 90, and so we can see, well, I started at 0, and I swept over to 90. That's great. Let's see, I'm going to try to make kind of like a rainbow thing. So there's two ways I can do this. I can start at 270 and then sweep over to 90, but be careful about your sweep angle. It's not saying the end point, it's saying from my start how many degrees I'm going to sweep. So watch, if I start at 270 and I only sweep 90, this is not telling me to start at 270 and sweep over to 90. This is saying I'm starting at 270 and I'm sweeping 90 degrees. Well, it just goes from there to there. Now, if I wanted to go all the way to 90, from 270 to get halfway around the circle, that would be 180 degrees. So I would do 180 degrees here to make my rainbow type thing. So I started start angle at 270, sweep angle was 180, so I go half of the circle at 180 degrees. So hopefully you're starting to get an idea. Start angle of 270, sweep angle of 180. Hopefully you're starting to get an idea of exactly how this works. Let's try to make a Pac-Man. So for a Pac-Man type thing, so here's another thing worth mentioning. You can also go negative on your sweep angle. And so instead of going, my image in an image is kind of backwards, but instead of going clockwise, negative would bring me counterclockwise. So let's try running this. Oh, all right. That's why you play around with it. I guess it doesn't like negatives. It does not like a negative angle. It also actually only wants a range of 1 to 360. So 0 is no good. You can't even go around more than once. That's unfortunate. So actually, I'm glad that I'm, we're picking this up. By the way, just play around with things. It's okay to mess things up. This is why I show my mess ups to you guys in the videos. So if I wanted to do something towards the bottom, I guess you always have to be sweeping clockwise. So I would have to start at 90 and then go 180 to 270 is my thoughts. So if I start at 90, go 180 to 270, bada boom, that'll be that bottom one. Wow, so you can only ever sweep clockwise. It seems like someone just got kind of lazy making this arc thing. No offense, CMU CS Academy, library designers, but I don't know. Let's see. Where else am I going here? Really, honestly, you should just play around with it. I guess the one thing that I do want to do is I've only been using 90, 180, and 270. You can start at, anywhere in between here. And I think decimals are fine. I want to start halfway between 180 and 90. So that would be 90, 45, 135 is what I'm thinking. I kind of want to make a Pac-Man. So first for the Pac-Man, I got to change the fill from red to yellow. And let's see, if I start at 135 and I want to go all the way from 135 over here to 45, which is really just 45 less than 360. So 355, 315 is what I'm thinking. Let's try it. 315. Nope, that's gross. It should be 90 degrees less because I want it to be a 45 and 45. So 90 degrees less than 360 would be 170. Not 170. Let's try 270. Yeah, all right. So we got our Pac-Man, and we got that by starting at 135 and then going to 270. And so there we go. We got our little Pac-Man thing. You're going to have to play around with it a bunch to figure it out. I'd recommend even maybe having a piece of paper and a pen to try and do the calculations instead of doing it all in your head. But the nice thing about programming is you can just try programming something, and if it doesn't work, there's no eraser marks or anything like that. Though I see students do this a lot, don't get freaked out by it. Like, take your time, think, and say, all right, if I was starting over here, halfway between 90 and 180, let me get halfway between 90 and 180 to start the Pac-Man. And now I want to go all the way over here. Well, I want to go halfway between the 0 and 90. I know if I went all the way, and this is my original mistake, I know if I went all the way, I was saying 360 was back over towards the 90 spot, but really 360 is all the way back over here. So when I did 45 degrees less than this, it brought me up to here. I needed to do 90 degrees less than this, which is going to be, 45 to here, 45 to there. If you're not good with angles, hopefully this gives you an opportunity to practice with them a bit. Anyways, this video is way longer than what I wanted it to be already, and we're just doing one thing. We're not even doing that much thinking here. I guess the last thing I'll do just to have both parts of this lesson in here was lines, like bonus little thing over here. You can add an arrow at the end of your lines by saying start arrow and setting it equal to true. By default, it starts off as false. And what that will do is it will create... Oh, not start arrow. Arrow start. Arrow start equals true, and then it'll create an arrow at your x1, y1 coordinates. If I do an arrow end equals true, well, that will create an arrow then at the x2, y2 coordinates of your line. Just a bonus little thing you can do with lines. Maybe I should have made that like a 30-second video on its own. Anyways, hopefully this video is not more than 10 minutes long. That would be kind of upsetting. And I'll see you next time.